As Sal would say, we want the smoke. We want smoke. We want it all, right?
Some smoke, yeah.
Some smoke. That's true. Not all of it. We are, and I am, here for Hard Knocks and all the primetime games and all the stuff that comes with it. But for me, I can't get this twisted. And it's going to sound like a loser statement. I really mean it. The Jets don't have to win the Super Bowl this year for me to have a view of this season as successful. I'll take it a step further. Jets don't even have to get to the Super Bowl for me to process this as a successful season. And I'll tell you why. You have to understand, because this has been largely forgotten. Today's a little reality day. I think some Jet fans need this. This century, the Jets have missed the playoffs 17 out of 23 times, right? They currently own the longest playoff drought, not just in the NFL, encompassing all of the majors. Hockey, baseball, football, basketball. Nobody's been on playoff ice longer than the Jets, all right? They've had 7 head coaches this century. They've had 7 general managers this century. And I'm supposed to look at this team, which I do expect will be very good, and I'm pumped. But I expect a Super Bowl that's ridiculous.
I'm shocked.
It's unrealistic.
But BT, I'm shocked you're the one, and you just said it yourself, it was a loser statement. You're the one who's been saying, get rid of that loser mentality. You're embracing all the expectations. They brought in Aaron Rodgers not to get to the playoffs, but to get to and win a Super Bowl. They haven't even played a game, and you're already backing off of that?
It's not backing off.
Super Bowl or bust, BT.
It's a recalibration for many of them. Yeah. I just think this has been almost unfair to the Jets. Like, I look at this, and don't get me wrong, I'm all in emotionally. Like, I remember saying to Tiki, like, I'm presenting myself to this season of Jets football in a way that there will be nothing left. Right. And I don't mean if they're like 10-7 or whatever, like wild card. Like, if it implodes, I'm finished. I am absolutely destroyed, ravaged as a sports fan. I have nothing left to give for my football team. I admit it.
I love that.
I'll be soulless, Sal.
I get it.
I'll have no more soul left. But that doesn't mean that I can't at least, for me, look at this in a way that is not all emotional. And when I do that, I need some other answers this year. If the Jets make the playoffs and they lose a well-played, tightly contested playoff game, how the hell am I going to rant and rave like a lunatic? The Jets betrayed me. The Jets failed. I can't do this. I can't do that.
But they would fall short of the ultimate expectation. And look, every team's goal, whether it's realistic or not, is always, in whatever sport, to win the championship. And it's just not going to be the case for the majority of teams, right? So I get if you fall short, you'd be disappointed. But, hey, you know what? They gave us a good season. But today, ahead of the Giants and Jets preseason game, you've been talking tough. Oh, the Jets are going to smack the Giants. The Jets are going to beat this team, that team. All right, all that stuff.
I'm worried about that.
But you also, BT, Aaron Rodgers, why are you shying away from expectation when Aaron Rodgers, the guy who's going to be under the microscope and the spotlight, is saying, I'm here to win a Super Bowl or bust. Look, the whether you think it could happen or not, different story.
Yep.
But you should not be running from the highest of expectations for the Jets, who are the it team in the NFL.
But they're the it team for a lot of reasons that worry me. Now, first of all, you talk about Aaron Rodgers, and you talk about running from that expectation because he has not. Why would I? Well, listen, I hate to be the bearer of the true state of his body. Twice this summer, he's pulled his calf.
Right.
Twice. I'm just trying to position this in a way that makes sense.
I think you're softening up already.
Listen,
don't couch it. I want you to be all in.
I am.
As a fan, yes.
Yes. I'm in there as a fan. There's no doubt about that. You know that. But, I think that there are so many other I don't even know if they have the right coach. Right. I don't know that. I don't know. So how... again, pushing this forward months, if they make the playoffs, if they have a good showing, and they happen to lose to a better team, the Jets colossally failed? Like, so is everybody trying to tell me that there's no middle ground? By the way, your answer might be yes. It's Super Bowl or bust. That's fine. I don't see it that way. I want it.
Even if they don't win a playoff game, you get into the postseason, sure, lose the first round, you're going to be okay with that?
Again, I'd have to see who they lose to, how they lose. Do they lose at home? I can't answer that part now.
I like the Super Bowl or bust stuff. That's what it is with this team. And you're supposed to be leading the charge. Forget Joe B. We got BT here. You're as passionate a Jet fan as there is.
Yeah.
You are the one BT who said it not too long ago since we've been working together for 4 weeks, whatever it is. I want that. Get rid of that loser mentality. Embrace these expectations. I like that, BT.
Yeah, no, I do too. I do. I enjoy being that person. And I believe when I'm that person. Like when I say that on the air, I mean that.
I know.
But again, keep in mind, there's a difference when because I've done that with a few callers. What I can't tolerate is when you call us up to start before the season's taking a meaningful snap. Oh, it's going to go sideways. I'm not saying that.
Right.
I'm not buying into the tortured past of the New York Jets. I'm not saying that the Jets are going to colossally implode and it's going to be 5-12 and another nightmare or whatever modern version of the fake spike or the butt fumble or the ghosts with Dar. I'm not saying that. I expect the Jets to be really, really good. What I'm saying is football's hard. Football and the quarterback, as much as he has owned the airwaves of HBO and the airwaves of this station, he is still 39. You got to have an ounce of trepidation.
Why what did you read something about Tua Tagovailoa that's scaring you off here? What are you getting? What's happening here?
I felt this way for a while. I have. Like, you know, when you...
Like understanding the reality that in all likelihood a team that hasn't made the playoffs in forever is not, in fact, going to the Super Bowl?
Well, I mean, just think about how forward and how fast this has been pushed. So... They haven't won since 1969.
Right.
And again, you have to listen to what I ran through. It's 2023, not 2072. They've had 7 general managers. They've been bereft of talent. They haven't won a playoff game in over a decade. They have been a colossal punchline. And all I'm saying is, for me, you want to call me soft? Call me soft.
I think you're soft.
Well, that's fine.
You've softened up here.
That is fine. That doesn't mean that every Sunday I won't be ferocious.
I get that.
And when things go awry, that I won't light it up as loudly and as good as anybody on the radio. I will.
Agreed.
I'm able to process the big picture and some of the and some of the incremental checkpoints that I think we need to get to before we lose our minds and just punch the ticket to February. This is getting ridiculous.
But why even couch it right now? Why not just get caught up in the storm and the idea and the dream? Like fans do that.
I am dreaming.
And I know there's two different parts of you. The fan in you that I know is going to be giving it your all, as you said, and rooting for the Super Bowl and all this stuff. And then you're trying to be logical and level-headed when it comes to doing a talk show and kind of temper the expectations, which I get, but I don't want to hear that.
Well,
with the Jets, if Aaron Rodgers himself, BT, could go out, like he could easily just say, well, yeah, winning the Super Bowl is hard. I mean, I'm one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I won 4 MVPs, but I've only won 1 Super Bowl. So who's to say that I'm going to come to the Jets of all teams who haven't sniffed the playoffs in 13 years and bring this team to a Super Bowl? Instead, he says, I see that trophy. It's looking a little lonely. It gives me goosebumps thinking about that.
Yeah, that was a great line.
He comes in here and embraces this town and says, it is about the Super Bowl. I want you, BT, as the resident Jet fan here, to be, hold those expectations to where we have them right now, Super Bowl or bust with this
They will
Jets
be
team.
held. That's why the level of accountability will be off the charts on this show. Off the charts. There won't be a moment of weakness. There won't be
You're going to want to fire Saleh after week 3.
There won't be a moment of acceptance for
Robert Saleh has not earned
the right. There won't be a moment. I like it, Sal. There won't be a moment of acceptance for me when I think if there's a real, true, identifiable level of underachievement or confusion, whether it's on the field, front office, head coach. It will be laid out, and I will just absolutely like that at the carnival when you take the balls, you throw those little clowns with the little piece of wood behind it. You just see the fur sticking out. It would make it really hard to hit. I will not hit the fur. I will hit the wood, and I will knock down every single one of them. But This is a little much for a lot. I mean,
so you just think the hype, like nationally?
I don't care about nationally.
Okay.
I just care about the reality of who they've been and where we want them to go. There are bridges to cross. And all I'm saying is I don't think it's, absolute fail or absolute success. There's middle of the road. And again, I expect people to come out and light me up today.
But that's for after
That's fine.
Yeah, because that's for after the season. Like you can go through
it's for before the season.
No, see, I would look at it afterward. You go in and say, hey, you know what? We had Super Bowl aspirations. That was the hope. That was the expectation with Rodgers. But you know what? Made the playoffs, won a playoff game. Not the worst thing you lose to whoever, Kansas City, Cincinnati, whatever it may be.
Yep.
However you lose, even if you lose an embarrassing game to one of those, like the Giants did last year. Like the Giant fan was disappointed last year at the end result. But the reality is, how could you ever be disappointed? They got to the postseason, if they would have lost to Minnesota in the moment and leading up to that week where everybody in the world thought that they were going to beat the Vikings, if they would have lost that game, there would have been disappointment. But ultimately, you look back and say, hey, nobody thought we'd make the playoffs. You're doing that already now before the year, in a year that Aaron Rodgers himself and the Jets in that building, one Jets drive, are talking Super Bowl.
Well, I feel like I'm the only smart guy in the room. It's lonely right now. This is the way it should be processed because I'm capable of juggling two things. And I think most of our listeners are too. What we hope
I'm not
to
so
have.
sure.
Well,
listeners,
some
yes.
can,
Callers, I don't know.
Well, some can. And listen, there's times where I struggle with that as well. But for the most part, at least pertaining to this, I could look at it macro. And then I could also look at it micro. And the micro is... it's a little bit of an impediment for me to get on the air. I have to be true to the sport.
I get it.
I've got to be true to the arduous road. You don't just show up and win a Super Bowl, especially with a coach who, I don't know if he can coach, and an offensive line, I don't even know who the hell's starting week one against the configuration of the offensive line. Let's not sit here and pretend that they've got the hogs from the old Washington team or even the Giants with Eli with all those studs or Kevin Mawai and Faneca. I don't know how this offensive line's going to be.
Here's
just a little reality.
Here's what I'm hearing, BT.
Yes.
I think you're scared.
I'm not afraid.
I think you're nervous.
I'm not.
You and other Jet fans
I'm
maybe,
realistic.
and I love to hear from the Jet fans here. I think you're scared about the expectations and then knowing the reality is the organization that you have rooted for your whole life has always let you down.
It's not fear. I just think it's transparency, and I just think it's honest. It's intelligence.
So you don't think the Jets are going to the Super Bowl this year?
No, I didn't say that. I never once said that. I said I won't categorize this season as an absolute fail if they don't win. That's a big difference than getting on the air saying I don't think they could get. I do think that they could get there. I do.
Right.
Although I need to see the coach and the O-line. But every other piece, I believe, every other requisite checkbox that you need to check, I believe that they have.
You think they can win the division?
Yes.
So then why are you lowering? So, think about this. If they could win the division and you believe that almost everything is there except for the offensive line, which is not perfect and no team is perfect, question marks with the head coach, sure. But if everything else is there, you've been pumped up about the defense more than anybody.
Yep.
You love the quarterback. We love the weapons that they have. Why then doubt? I know it's a strong AFC. Hey, bleep happens. Like maybe something happens with Kansas City. We've already seen something happen with Joe Burrow with Cincinnati. The Ravens are good, but are they unbeatable? Like you can see the path for this Jets team. Why back off now of these Super Bowl or bust expectations? Embrace it, BT. That's a loser's mentality.
Oh, we're going to get personal today. Listen, this is cathartic. I need this day, so now I'm going to take it from the callers. If I start taking it from you, I don't know what I'm going to do today. So, listen, let's tap the brakes on that. No. I know I say that in jest, and I know that you're messing around as well. To me, it's smart. It's a moment of clarity. That's what it is. It's a moment of clarity. It's just a lot. Everything about this team, we're skipping 7 levels. And that's all I'm saying. 877-337-6666, BT and Sal on the Fan. All right, we're inside of our Town Fair Tire studio. Our friends at Town Fair remind you that you always get the guarantee lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Let's start Greg in Rahway up first on the Fan, BT and Sal. Greg, what's going on, buddy?
Good morning, Sal, BT. How you guys doing?
What's up, Greg?
Right.
I want to take you back in time a little bit, BT.
Yes.
I'm going to spruce up your spirits here.
Okay.
Well, Y.E. Tittle came to the Giants, I think it was in 1960.
Okay.
He took us on to a couple of championships games, even though we lost them.
Uh-huh.
But the thrill of seeing him play the way he did for those few years.
I got it. Greg, by the way, Greg, my spirits aren't dampened.
The ride.
No, Greg, I appreciate the historical footnote. And I know about that with Tittle. I got you. I know where they were. I know where they went with them. I got it. And then I know what happened, how it devolved, shortly thereafter. Understood. And maybe the Jets are staring at the same fate. Maybe it's a little blip. Maybe it's the real thing. Maybe it's really, truly punctuated with another Super Bowl. I don't know. It's not fear. It's not despondency. It's reality. That's all it is. It is the reality of the degree of difficulty. Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl. Rodgers just strolls in for a franchise that's been historically tortured and wins right away. I'm just saying it's not nearly as easy as everybody's making it out to be.
But the reality is the expectations are Super Bowl or bust. I mean, when Rodgers gets traded here, it's not to make the postseason. While I understand what you're saying about after the year they lose in the playoffs, you have a good run, you'll enjoy parts of it. The expectations by the Jets themselves, regardless of what you or I say or the listeners or anybody else, the expectation to win a Super Bowl. If the Jets don't win a Super Bowl in the next, how many years are going to be here?
2 or 3, Max. Probably 2.
It's going to be looked at as a failure.
Bill's in Brick, New Jersey. Bill, BT, and Sal on the Fan. What's up, Billy?
God, this is great. I love it. The Jets are the Mets of the NFL. Let's go out and overpay for an overaged quarterback with no offensive line. It's going to look great when Aaron Rodgers is ready to get off that ship halfway through the season. Unbelievable. Jets are the new Mets of the NFL.
I wish they were the Mets, because that would mean that I would have a championship in my lifetime. You're actually making my point, if you really think about this. That's the thing. Think about the jokes and the frustrations and the drop-offs and the implosions with the Mets. Now take all of that and amplify it by 10, and you have the Jets. Think about that.
This is setting
That's not
up
hyperbole, Sal.
It is setting up for now. Look, I love Aaron Rodgers, and I'm going to be rooting for the Jets. I'm rooting for both the Jets and Giants this year. I'm going to bet their overs. I'm all in. I'm going to bet them to win the division. But this is setting up for disaster. And that's what I think is happening here. As a beaten down Jet fan, you're using your noodle and you're being logical about things. As a beaten down Jet fan, the reality is they're not going to reach the expectations of Super Bowl. So you're already starting to lower that a little bit because they're the Jets.
But I'm not saying they're not getting there. I'm saying if they don't, it cannot, at least for me, be processed as an absolute failure. I don't see it that way. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's realistic. I mean, yeah, again, based off what I said, there's a lot of nuance there, and it could be split in many different ways. I get what you're saying, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, one more time so everybody in the back of the room can hear it, I'm confident, I'm pumped, I'm amped. I'll be at multiple road games. I'll be at multiple home games. I embrace it. I can't wait. I think this team is really, really good with a puncher's chance to win the Super Bowl. But what I'm also saying is, if they don't, it's not a complete failure. That's all I'm saying.
I'd be curious to feel.
That's pretty easy to deduce, right?
I get it.
Sal's trying to make me look like I'm running away from all the stuff here. Sal, trying to complicate my world, my partner.
Look, I remember you saying I'm taking these expectations head on. We welcome it. Hard Knocks, Super Bowl,
we do.
And then today I'm hearing it's not Super Bowl or bust, but it is Super Bowl or bust. I get it. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think it is Super Bowl, but I'm curious to see what the majority of Jet fans feel about this. Is it Super Bowl or bust? And to me, it is. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers said, I'm with Aaron Rodgers. I'm with number 8. If he says Super Bowl or bust, to me, it's going to be a bust if the Jets don't at least get to a Super Bowl.
All right, and that's where we are. 877-337-6666. Brandon Tierney, Sal Licata, BT and Sal on the Fan. Back to you and your calls next on the Fan.